I have a question about the first argument. In the first argument, you prove that if a world has to exist, it has to have a cause, and the cause cannot belong to this world because, before the world exists, there's even no space and no time. But I was wondering, since we can probably argue that causality itself is time-dependent, because if there's no temporal relationship, how does one thing cause the other? So before the universe even exists, there's no time. So does causality actually apply at the time when the universe began to exist or before the universe? Because, well, technically, you can't even say before the universe because before, there is no time.
Right, that's not a problem. I don't think that God existed before the universe in a temporal sense. God is not chronologically prior to the universe, but I would say he's causally prior to the universe. And I frankly just don't understand why people think that causality is a temporal relationship. For example, philosophers talk all the time about cases of simultaneous causation, where the cause and effect occur at the same moment of time. Immanuel Kant gave the example of a heavy ball resting on a pillow, causing a depression in the pillow. Now, the ball and the pillow could have existed from eternity past, so that the ball was always on the pillow. But clearly, the depression in the pillow is caused by the heavy balls resting on it. The roundness of the ball is not caused by the depression in the cushion. So it's simply not true that the cause has to exist temporally prior to the effect. They can be simultaneous with each other. Now, if that's true, that they can be coincident in that way, then why couldn't you have something that is timeless and related to its effect timelessly? For example, God could be thinking of the number 1, and therefore the number 1 would exist and would be caused by God. God could maintain mathematical objects in existence by timelessly thinking them. So I just don't see any argument for thinking that cause and effect is a temporal relationship. Now, what I do think is correct about what you said is that if God exists timelessly and he brings the universe into existence, time comes into being. And because God is causally related to the universe, God now stands in a relationship in which he did not stand before. And therefore there has happened a change. And that brings God into time. So I would say that the moment at which God creates the universe is the moment at which the universe comes into being. And when you think about it, what could be more obvious than that? Of course, the moment at which the universe comes into being is the moment at which God creates it. So my view is that God exists timelessly without the universe. He, existing alone, he is timeless. And that with the creation of the universe, God enters into time in virtue of his real relationship with a temporal effect. And it seems to me that that is a coherent and plausible account of God's relationship to time. If you're interested in reading more about this very mind-expanding subject, look at my book called Time and Eternity, which is a discussion of God's relationship to time.